Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome into another episode of Spirit Speakeasy. Today, we are diving into something that I think is going to be a total game changer for a lot of you. So, let me ask you something. Do you know your partner's love language, or your best friend's love language, or your kids? Yeah, I thought some of you might. You've probably taken the quiz, maybe you read the book, had the conversation. You know exactly how others want to receive love. But here's my question. Do you know your love language? And more importantly, are you speaking your love language to yourself, about yourself? Because here's what I see all the time in my work as a medium and intuitive coach. People are so good at pouring love into everyone else, especially sensitives. All my highly sensitives, raise your hand. This is you. So we pour so much love into everyone else. They've read their partner's love language. They're doing all the things. They're showing up for friends, for their kids, for their family. But when it comes to themselves, silence, empty cup, running on fumes. And they wonder why they feel so depleted or disconnected or anxious or resentful. And sometimes they wonder why their intuition feels fuzzy, why they can't hear or feel their intuition or their guides, for example, and why everything just feels so much harder. Here's the truth, and this is something Spirit has shown me over and over again. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Some of you might be saying, yeah, like I know that old adage, you have to fill up your own cup first, put on your own oxygen mask before you help your loved ones. But your relationship with yourself, the way you love yourself, honor yourself, speak to yourself, about yourself, that really sets the template for every other relationship in your life, including your relationship with the voice of your inner compass, your intuition, and of course, your relationship with the unseen world just in general. So today we are going to take a different look at Gary Chapman's favorite or famous five love languages framework, and we're going to turn it completely inward. We are going to talk about what each of the five love languages looks like, when you apply it to yourself, why this matters from a spiritual perspective, and most importantly, I'm going to give you a super practical, actionable way to start filling your own cup in the language that your soul actually speaks with you. Because let me tell you, when you start loving yourself in your own love language, so much can shift. Your energy shifts, your vibrational frequency that you're offering shifts, your relationships with others can shift, your intuition gets clearer, or at least you're recognizing it more. Opportunities can start showing up. It can look like finally unlocking this door that you didn't even realize was closed. So buckle up, beautiful soul, because we are going to deep dive today. And I have a feeling this episode is going to hit a little differently for a lot of you. So let's dive in. Okay, so I want to start with the basics. If you're not familiar with the five love languages, I'm going to give you the rundown of what it is I'm talking about. I have really worked this book. I have a couple little pet peeves that I may or may not mention about this work, but overall, I think this is really helpful work from Dr. Gary Chapman, who is the author of this book. Back in 1992, Dr. Gary Chapman, who was a marriage counselor and a pastor, wrote this book called The Five Love Languages: The Secret to Love That Lasts. And it became huge, like over 20 million copies sold, huge, and translated into 50 languages, huge. New York Times bestseller for like literally so many years. You can check all that out on his website and check out his work. That website's five, like the number five, lovelanguages.com. And I'll actually link it in the show notes. I'm not affiliated with him in any way, but I feel like if I'm going to talk about someone's work, it'd be nice to cite them as a source and for you to be able to go check out their work if you choose to. And as part of throwing in that link on his website, you can find a free love languages quiz. So if you want to take the quiz yourself and kind of rate yourself based on his work and his quiz to see what your love language is, if you haven't done it already, because let's be honest, some of you have done this already at some point. So if you just want to rate yourself again, or if you've never done it, I will link all that below. So Chapman's whole premise of this work was that we all express and receive love differently. And a lot of relationship problems, he believed, happen because we're speaking different, like quote unquote, love languages. Like you're over here trying to show love by doing the dishes and keeping the house clean, and your partner is over there thinking that you don't love them because you never say the words, I love you. So you're both loving each other and showing up in different ways, but you're just speaking different languages. So Chapman broke it down into basically 5 main categories or 5 love languages. And I'm going to run through them super quick. Even if you haven't ever taken that quiz, you probably will be able to kind of identify yourself or those around you in these. So the number 1 love language is words of affirmation. And these are in no particular order. They're ranked by the individual. So everyone is a little different. So number 1, words of affirmation. This is all about verbal appreciation, compliments, words of encouragement, validation. People with this love language, they feel the most loved when they hear words of love. I love you. I'm proud of you. You're amazing. You did such a good job making dinner, or such a good job on this project. These people who are in this category, it is truly meaningful and special for them to hear kind words. They need those words. That is how they feel loved by you or anyone else. Okay, number 2, quality time. This is about undivided attention. It's not just being in the same room together while like watching a show kind of and separately scrolling on your phone. It's not that. I'm talking about like fully present, meaningful conversations, eye contact, doing activities together where you're actually like engaged in the same activity. People with this love language, quality time, they feel most loved when you give them your time and your attention undivided. So you'd be better off to give them like an hour of undivided attention where you're just in actual conversation with no devices on, for example, than to sit next to them and binge watch 10 hours of television. Okay, number 3, receiving gifts. Now, this one gets misunderstood a lot. It's not about materialism or being greedy. It's about thoughtful tokens of appreciation. So kind of the thought that counts. It's the I saw this and I thought of you, or I recognize that you like this and so I want to bring it for you to make you feel good because you like this. It's not just bringing any coffee, it's bringing their specific coffee order, right? It's not just, yeah, I'll leave it at that because I don't want to take too long on this part. But anyway, so it's, I saw this and thought of you. I picked up this little snack at the gas station today because I know it makes you smile. It's your favorite. It's about acknowledging someone and thinking about them, right? So people who have this love languages, receiving gifts, they feel most loved when you give them something tangible that shows you care and that shows you either like understand them or know who they are or paying attention. Okay, number 4, acts of service. This is actions speak louder than words. For this love language, basically. It's about doing helpful things, taking care of tasks, easing someone's burden, stepping up without being asked. If they have to ask you, it's almost like it kind of doesn't count. I hate to say it that way. People with the love language of acts of service feel most loved when you do things for them that make their life easier. It typically has to be like a considerate thing, right? Like you have to be considering them. It's not just doing any task that you want to do and expecting them to appreciate it. It's doing a task that will ease their load or make them feel seen. Or like, for example, if you have someone in your life that's this love language and they really want you to hang up your jacket at the end of the day, it's such a small thing to do. But you doing it because you know it means something to them is how they feel loved and appreciated. Okay, so number 5 of these 5 love languages is physical touch. It's about physical connection, hugs, holding hands, rubbing someone's shoulder or back. It can be massages. It could be pretty much any type of affection. People with this love language, physical touch, they feel most loved when you touch them. Physical closeness or comfortable touch is how they feel most safe, most supported, most connected, most loved. Now, Chapman says most people have a primary love language, like the main one that really fills your tank. And usually people have like a secondary one too. So it's like, well, this is the one I feel the most. And then this one, yeah, I also kind of agree with that, like feel that one too. Usually most of them or many of them can resonate to a certain degree, but these are like the two you would score the highest in a quiz, for example. So if you kind of want to think about this, you could think about it like the idea that if you want to love someone really well and make them feel really loved, you need to learn their love language, not just speak your own love language. Because this is, again, where he was identifying that, oh, this is where these disagreements and both people feeling unloved when both people are showing up kind of a way. If your love language is quality time, for example, and my love language is gifts, let's just say, and you're spending time with me, and that's great, and I might love it. But if my love language is gifts, I might need you to spend less time with me, but actually do like bring me a little token that shows that you care or appreciate me. It could be like a bag of chips. It doesn't have to be something crazy. It could be a flower that you picked outside that you brought in. You know what I mean? So you have to love them in the way that they receive love for them to feel loved. It's kind of easy math, right? So he says most of us try to love others in the language that we would prefer to receive instead of how the other person needs to receive it. That makes sense, right? We do what we like, but we need to do what they like. But here's where Chapman didn't really dive into in the physical book, like in the original book. What if this is kind of what I was thinking about, because I have loved these love languages for a long time, and I feel like it helps me understand and better care for, my kids and my friends and people that I want to make feel loved by me. But for me, there's some things missing. Now, the one I want to talk about today is this part that I was saying that Chapman didn't really dive into in his original book. I really couldn't stop thinking about, yeah, but what happened if we applied this framework to ourselves, right? We're talking about loving others and knowing others' love language, which is wonderful, or how others are going to love us, which also wonderful. But what about how we love ourselves? What if we apply this framework to us loving ourselves? What if you started asking, how do I need to be loved by me? What's my love language when it comes to self-love? How can I fill up my own cup for myself? Because as we know, most of us are way better at loving other people than we are at loving ourselves. And most of us don't know how to fill up our own cup. And truthfully, we have to do that for ourselves. We can't be codependent, or it's not ideal. And it's about filling up our own cup so that we have love to spill over, right? But how do we fill up our own cup? I think love languages might be one potential solution or tool at least. So it's a real problem, right? When we're way better at loving other people than ourselves, a big one. So, what we're going to unpack today is how these 5 love languages can turn themselves into self-love practice for you that actually works for you because it's custom for you. So, this next little bit, I want to dive a little bit more into why self-love languages matter. And I'm going to share a little bit more of a spiritual perspective here. So, before we get into the how, I want to talk quickly about the why, because I don't want this to be just another like, oh, I'm going to add it to my self-care Sunday bubble bath situation, right? I want you to understand from a spiritual and energetic perspective why this filling up your cup or self-love or taking care of yourself matters so much. Here's what I know to be true, both from my work as a medium and from my own journey. And the truth is, I've learned this lesson different times in different ways. And like all the lessons, I continue to learn. When your cup is empty, you can't connect deeply to your intuition or to your spirit. Think about it. When you're running on fumes, which I'm sure we've all been there, when you're depleted, when you're not taking care of yourself, you're probably exhausted, you're probably overwhelmed, stressed, spread really thin. What happens? Your energy gets kind of murky. Your frequency drops or lowers. We shift into often more of like a survival mode, not like a thriving mode. It happens to all of us. It's not a judgment. And in that state, it gets so hard to hear our inner guidance because we're drowning in that overwhelm or anxiety or stress. And it's so hard to feel our soul self or our guides, or like we're supported by our intuition. And it can also, as part of that, feel really hard to trust ourselves that we know the next step, or that we have our own answer, or we know what to do or what we want, right? I see this with clients, with students, with people on calls all the time. They come to me for reading or guidance and they're like, Joy, I can't hear my intuition anymore, or I don't know if I have intuition. I feel disconnected from spirit, some version of that, and they don't know what to do. And when I tune in to the energy of their soul, what I see more often than not is someone who is spiritually, emotionally, and energetically just depleted. It's not the capability. That's there underneath, but they need to be restored a little bit. I often see someone who's been giving and giving and giving to everyone else. It's a common story, and they have nothing left for themselves. And here's the kicker: spirit can only meet you where you meet yourself. If you're not honoring your own needs, if you're abandoning yourself, if you're constantly putting yourself last, you're sending a message to the universe, to your own guidance system that says, I don't matter. I'm not a priority. I'm not listening. I don't want to hear it. And the universe mirrors that right back to you, right? What we emit is what we create more of, right? And what's worse is most of us spend years of our lives, I did this, looking outside of ourselves for someone else to love us in a way that we feel fulfilled. And true fulfillment comes from the inside: self-love, self-esteem. But when you start filling your own cup, when you start treating yourself with the love and care and respect that you actually deserve, when you start speaking to yourself in your own love language, everything can start changing. Your energy becomes clearer, your vibration rises, you're more aligned with who you truly are. When you start speaking to yourself and treating yourself like this, you can notice those intuitive nudges more. Opportunities can start showing up. The right people start appearing. Synchronicities start happening around you because you're finally aligned with your own worth and with who you truly are as a soul. And that alignment is magnetic. So there's also some research that backs this up, believe it or not from a woo-woo perspective, but from a psychological one. I've mentioned her before, but Dr. Kristen Neff, who is a leading researcher on self-compassion, has shown that practicing self-compassion, which includes self-love practices, is linked to greater emotional resilience overall, reduced anxiety, improved well-being, even better relationships with others around us. You can check out her work at selfcompassion.org, self-compassion.org. I'll also link that in the show notes for you. So if you want to see the data that backs this up, this is not just some fluffy feel-good stuff. This is real, and this can become a foundational part of your self-care practice that's more meaningful than, maybe just some like bubble baths and tea. Also good, but not the same. And there's a spiritual piece that I also, all jokes aside, really want you to sit with. Self-abandonment creates energetic blocks, or it makes us feel blocked in our energy. If you've ever felt blocked or stuck, when you constantly ignore your own needs, when you override your own intuition, when you push through and keep powering into exhaustion, when you talk to yourself internally in ways that you would never talk to someone you loved, all that really harsh inner self-talk, you create blind spots all around you and within you that lead to feeling blocked or stuck. Blocks in your energy field, blocks in your chakras, blocks in your ability to receive, blocks in your clarity on next step in life. And it really is just about unprocessed emotions, or abandoning yourself and not recognizing what you need. And those type of blocks, they keep you feeling stuck. They keep you feeling small. They keep you from stepping into your full power. And sometimes they even convince you that you can't get out of your comfort zone. So when I talk about self-love languages, I'm not talking about just, face masks and expensive coffee treats. I'm talking about practical spiritual practices that can align you with your own soul's truth. And that helps to clear your energy and strengthen your connection with source, with your higher self, with your soul self, whatever supports your belief system. Because whatever you're not an energetic match for can't kind of stick or stay with your energy. And I'm talking about treating yourself like the sacred being that you really are, because you are sacred. Your body is a temple. We know this, right? Your energy is precious. Your time is valuable. We are not guaranteed any certain amount of time here on this plane, as we know. And your soul really deserves to be honored. You chose to come in this specific body, in this specific lifetime. There's something to honor there that's sacred, right? And when you start operating from that truth, when you start loving yourself in ways that your soul actually needs to be loved and receives love, that is when kind of magical things kind of start to happen. So I feel like that's when we are the most aligned. That's when we become almost more magnetic for all the things that we have been maybe trying to force or chase or hustle towards. Because when we're finally vibrating in alignment, like that vibrational alignment with our soul self, we know and own our own worth. Okay, so are you still with me? Do you feel what I'm talking about? Do you smell what the rock is cooking? This is why the work matters. This is why that inner work, that personal development, this is a little bit of what we're doing today, just learning a little bit about ourselves. So let's get into the how. Now that we understand a little bit more about what the love languages are and why this is such a powerful tool to use for ourselves, let us get into how can we do this? How are we going to use this? Okay, so love languages applied to yourself is really what I want to dive into next. This is the good stuff. This is where we get practical. I'm going to walk you through all 5 love languages, one for each. And for each one, I'm going to break down what it will look like if you're not yourself, like loving yourself in this language, and what it will look like if you are. So hopefully you'll see the gist as we go. It's super practical, actionable examples you can start today. And the spiritual or energetic angle of this is also really important. So let's get into it. I want to first dive into this first love language, words of affirmation. And as always, as you listen to this episode and see what resonates with you and what doesn't, it's okay to take what resonates and leave the rest. It's always okay. It's always kind of what we're working from, right? So if your love language is words of affirmation, that's the one where you need to hear the love. You need verbal encouragement, compliments, words of appreciation. Words matter to you a lot. And when you're not doing this for yourself, it can look like almost that harsh, brutal self-talk, constant self-criticism, whether it's in a voice in your head or whether it's just you being frustrated or angry at yourself. It can be beating yourself up for like little mistakes, or even when you're not perfect, right? This can tip into some perfectionism with this one. It can be dismissing compliments that other people try to give you. It can be ignoring your own accomplishments. I mean, no one wants to sound conceited, but it's okay to celebrate yourself, right? We don't want to ignore your accomplishments. Just running this kind of internal dialogue, which is some version of like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not doing enough, or I should be better. I should be more. You should know this by now. Does any of this sound familiar to any of you? So when you are loving yourself in this love language, it looks like speaking to yourself with words that you would speak to your best friend or a sweet little baby, or maybe your own kiddo, or maybe someone else that is like very close to you, with kindness, with encouragement, with compassion. It's using words of affirmation, but not like toxic positivity kind where you're just lying to yourself or like fluffing up your feathers for no reason. I'm talking about like real grounded affirmations that feel true. Things like, I'm doing the best that I can, or I'm learning and growing every day, or I'm proud of how I handled that situation, right? Are you giving yourself positive feedback about the things that are good, bright, wonderful as you go throughout the day? That's what this is. And you could also think about even doing something like journaling your wins, celebrating yourself, saving kind messages or compliments so that you can go back and read them if you need a boost or if you need to be reminded. So I'm going to give you some super practical examples for this words of affirmation love language. I'm just going to run through them because we've got 5 of these to get through. So here are some super practical examples of how you can use the words of affirmation love language for yourself. It could be those morning mirror affirmations where you look at yourself like right in the eyes in a mirror and you say something kind, and make it specific here. Don't just say like, I'm amazing. That feels fake. Say, I'm proud of myself for getting out of bed today, even though I was exhausted. Or I'm so proud of you that you showed up for that hard conversation and did your best, right? So it's saying something that's like more specific and more true. And as part of this, if you want to take it to the next level with these mirror affirmations, you could write yourself a love letter. I know it sounds cheesy, but just do it once and see if you like it. Write yourself like you're writing to someone that you like truly adore. Tell yourself what you appreciate about you, what you're proud of, what you see in yourself. You can really even go back and like reflect on how far you've come in this letter if you want, from a different version of you to who you are now. So that can be a really special way of applying this love language to yourself. Another idea is to keep a wins folder on your phone. It could just be like screenshots of nice texts or DMs or emails or comments. And anytime someone says something kind or like gives you a nice compliment or acknowledges you, you could screenshot it and save it. Or you could even write a little note, to yourself about it in your notes section. And then when you're having a rough day or when you want to just practice your mirror affirmations, you could read some of them. You could journal 3 things that you're proud of yourself for, every night before you go to bed. Just 3. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be like, I drank my water today. It could be, I was kind to a stranger. It could be, I finished that project I've been putting off. For me recently, it was like, I did a round of clearing from my closet, and I'm super proud of that because it was busted at the seams. And it could just be acknowledging something you did that was hard or something that you maybe didn't do perfectly, but you did your best at, right? Just 3 little notes to yourself in the evening. Now, here's a little bit more on the spiritual angle. Words are energy. In more of the like Wiccan traditions, the reason they call it a spell is because you're writing words. You're spelling it out. Like spelling is about a spell because words have power. So hate to burst your bubble if you didn't know that, but words are energy. They are incredibly powerful. The words you speak to yourself literally shape your reality. They shape your vibration. They move your frequency. They really manifest as energy that you're emanating out into the world. And if you want to call in love, if you want to call in abundance or joy or opportunities, you have to speak those frequencies first to yourself because you want to magnetize to that, right? You can't walk around telling yourself you're a failure and expect the universe to bring you loads of success, right? It just doesn't work like that. You have to be a match for that energy. And that starts with affirming yourself. So if words of affirmation is your love language, this is your spiritual practice. Speak life over yourself. Speak truth into yourself. Speak kindness and grace and gratefulness and compassion and love. Your soul is listening 100% of the time. Okay, love language number 2 for self-love, quality time. If quality time is your love language, that means that you feel the most loved when someone gives you their full undivided attention, no distractions, just like full presence. And when you're not doing this for yourself, it can look like never being alone without a distraction, filling every single moment with productivity or numbing or scrolling or Netflix binging or staying busy, always distracted, always doing something, never just still by yourself. And this can even tip into feeling guilty for doing nothing. I just was having this conversation with a client earlier this week that they were struggling with this next phase of their life, and they were feeling really guilty for like doing nothing, is what they kept saying. Uh, they were really never just being with themselves. And here's the thing: if you can't be alone with yourself, if you're constantly avoiding your own company, that's a little bit of a red flag. That's a sign that something's a little off. And it might be something you can work on within yourself. If you're new here, I always recommend trying to find a wonderful therapist if that is within your means and capabilities. I think that can also be really helpful. But you, me, all of us need to be able to be alone with ourselves. And when we are loving ourselves in this quality time love language, it can look like intentional solo time, even if it's just 10 minutes a day where you're like fully present with yourself, no phone, no to-do list, just you with yourself. It can be taking yourself on a date, a coffee shop solo, a nature walk, a museum. You guys know I love my museums, a bookstore, just you with your own thoughts, spending time with yourself. It can look like meditation, journaling, creative hobbies, but doing them without multitasking, right? It's just being fully in the experience by yourself with yourself. I'm going to give you some practical examples because some people, we all sometimes it's hard to be creative for ourselves. So this can look like just daily practice of 5 to 10 minutes of meditation or breath work or focusing on your breath, just sitting, breathing, being with yourself, no agenda. This can look like a weekly like artist date with yourself. This can be I wrote a little note here for myself that there's a book called Julia Cameron. It's called The Artist's Way. And in the book, she talks about once a week taking yourself on a little solo adventure. So highly recommend that book if you are an artist or a creative of any kind, which if you're here, you probably are. So something that fills your creative well. It could be nature. It could be a visit to a thrift store. It could be sitting in a park and people watching, like just you exploring, being present with yourself. You could consider doing a phone-free morning or evening. A phone-free morning looks like just don't check your phone for the first hour that you're awake. Give that time to yourself to be the first thing that you focus on in the day. You could journal, you could do some stretching, you could make your coffee kind of slowly and with ease. You could just sit in silence just to be with yourself before you let the whole world into your experience. Solo nature walks that you're actually there and present are really amazing. Like not on a call, not listening to a podcast, not writing your to-do list, but just walking, noticing, just being. And the spiritual angle here for this one is you can't hear your intuition or your spirit guides or loved ones on the other side if you're never still. Quality time with yourself is quality time with your soul. There's this I don't love this word, but it's almost like a download or information that can kind of come into our awareness or into our mind. And when we're constantly consuming or distracted or constantly doing something, we're drowning out that still small voice, that inspiration, that clarity, those moments of just wisdom dropping in. We can totally drown it out if we are having consuming information in a like tech and data way around us constantly. We're not available for our intuition. You can create that space though. Like it's about thinking, when can you get quiet? When can you just sit with yourself? That's when the magic and the inspiration starts to come into your energy field, and then it can drop in at any point. That's when you get ideas and insights and nudges from spirit. So if quality time is your love language, then this is a non-negotiable for you. You need to find some way to have that time with yourself, by yourself, for yourself. It is sacred time, and I would suggest finding what works for you and then really creating like some boundaries or protection around getting to have that time with yourself to fill up your own cup. The next love language, number 3, is receiving gifts. Again, this one gets misunderstood a lot. People hear receiving gifts and they think it's like shallow or materialistic, but like we were talking about, it's not about the stuff. It's I saw this and thought of you. I remembered you. If this is your love language, the gifts, really gifts make you feel seen and valued and remembered and considered, and that's beautiful. And when you're not doing this for yourself, this receiving gifts, like giving gifts to yourself, it can look like waiting for other people to buy you things, feeling guilty for spending money or time on yourself, only allowing yourself to buy like practical, joyless necessities, never treating yourself to something special, even if it's like the 30 cents to add whipped cream to your drink, like just not allowing yourself to have special things, never investing in things that bring you beauty or ease or joy. It can be rough when we are not allowing ourselves to give ourselves little gifts. And when you actually are loving yourself in this love language, it can look like treating yourself. It can be rewarding yourself. It can also be things like investing in things that make your life more beautiful or easier or more joyful. This can include investing for your future. It doesn't have to be expensive. I know we hear gifts and we think, oh, extravagance, expensive. It's not about dropping hundreds of dollars. It's about the intention behind it. So here's some practical examples. You could buy yourself flowers, or you could even pick yourself some wildflowers if you wanted to, not for any special occasion, like just because you deserve beauty in your space. You could treat yourself after an accomplishment, like if you finished a hard project, or if you, had a tough week. You could order that book that you've been wanting. You could have a little bit of takeout. You could celebrate yourself with tangible, small rewards. You can even think about keeping a wish list and choose something meaningful once a month based on like whatever your budget is that month. It could even be something small, like a candle, a journal. That 99-cent store, if you have any version of that near you, they sometimes have some really amazing journals. Just a little side note. So it could be, anything, candle, journal, a piece of art for your wall, a cozy blanket, something that makes you smile. I did this recently, and for me, it was something that was like this blue and white stripe print that reminded me of like the Oshkosh Bagosh from when my kids were babies. So if you remember Oshkosh Bagosh, you will know what I'm talking about, but it wasn't expensive. It's just, so it's just something that feels significant and special to you. You can upgrade your daily experience in very small ways. Get the fancy coffee once a week instead of the regular. Buy the nice quality olive oil. Get luxurious towels. Invest in things that make your daily life feel more luxurious. Doesn't have to mean more expensive. Give yourself the gift of ease. You could hire help, even if it's like once a year, you're going to hire someone to like deep clean your bathroom. It could be something like that. It could be sometimes buying the veggies that are already pre-cut. It could be getting that meal kit because you know you're going to have a really hard week. So you're going to have something that's already partially prepared. Whatever makes life easier for you, it's a gift to yourself. The spiritual angle here is that gifts are physical representations of our worth. We shouldn't base our worth on gifts and material items, but if we feel love this way, if this is our love language, when we invest in ourselves, whether it's time or money or energy, you're telling the universe, I'm worthy of good things. I'm available. I'm valuable. I matter. I'm ready to receive good things. And the universe will respond and meet that energy. So when you operate from a place of scarcity, like I don't deserve this, or that guilt of like self-denial and like, oh, I can't have that, it's not, then we block abundance. We block the flow of abundance. But when we treat ourselves well, when we invest in ourselves, when you allow yourself to receive and open the channel, you become magnetic. One of the gifts I gave myself, this is many years ago, but I was giving myself the gift of education. That's the thing that felt like investing in myself, that I wanted to spend my resource, my little tiny bit of money on, was education for myself. So it's totally personal to you and what feels luxurious or special or like an investment to you. And then you're sending that to the universe and that becomes magnetic. So if receiving gifts is your love language, then let yourself have some of the things. Let yourself be treated well by you. You're not being selfish, you're just being aligned. Okay, number 4 here is love language, acts of service. So, if acts of service is your love language, that means when you feel most loved is when someone is doing something for you. They're taking an action, they're easing your burden. When you're not doing this for yourself, it can look like procrastinating on things that would make your life so much easier. It can look like letting your space become chaotic in a way that feels really draining for you. It can be never meal prepping, like always scrambling at the last minute for just like whatever you can throw together easily instead of something that's like really nourishing or feels nice for you. It could be even something like ignoring your health or putting off doctor's appointments or not moving your body, not getting a decent amount of sleep, like staying up too late, eating all the time things that make you feel sick. Basically, future you is struggling because present you isn't setting them up for success. So when you are loving yourself with this love language, acts of service, it can look like, and remember, personalized for everyone, but it can look like doing things for you that make it easier for your future self, like acts of service to yourself in the future. So here's some practical examples. Meal prep is one of my favorites personally for this, for future you or future me. So pick a day that's like one of your days off or when you have a little bit more time so that you're not scrambling through the whole week, even if it's just like making a batch of rice or beans or chopping up some vegetables or making a list of what you're going to make and making sure you have the ingredients for the week. Whatever makes cooking easier for you, for example. It could even be like setting up your space the night before. I often do this. Lay out your clothes, prep your coffee. Like I put water in the coffee machine. I make sure there's coffee inside there. Not every day, but most days. You can tidy up your kitchen. You can kind of get your lunch made or started. It's doing the little things now. I usually pack my work backpack, doing the little things now so that tomorrow you wakes up with ease, feeling cared for, feeling prepped for, not feeling chaotic. For some, this can be decluttering, organization. Like if your space affects your energy, which it does for most of us, a cluttered space creates like mental clutter or stress or makes us feel scattered, like we can't focus and get things done sometimes. So it could even be like doing future you a favor and creating a clean, peaceful, like I keep doing this, like with my hand, swirling my hand in front of me because this is my office side of the house. So for me, it's like keeping a little tidy office area that I can just sit down and record or jump on a Zoom or teach with ease. I'm setting that up for future me so that if she has a busy day, she can just slide right in and it's already ready for her. So what are the things for you that you can do? Book the dentist appointment, handle the annoying tasks, set the auto pay for the bill, fix the thing that's been broken for months, get it done so it's not weighing on you. And so future you is like, oh my gosh, thank you, yesterday me, for doing that. A big one for a lot of us is going to bed early. This is an act of service to tomorrow you. Give yourself the gift of rest. The spiritual angle here really is about honoring ourselves as a vessel, right? This human experience, we live in a human body. That is the vessel that allows our soul to move through this 3D reality. Our bodies are sacred. They are our sacred personal space. Our energy is sacred. When you, me, all of us, when we take care of these things, we're saying like, hey, this temple matters. I'm worthy of beauty, of functionality, of peaceful environment. I'm worthy of health and ease and care. And that energy, that like reverence for yourself, it radiates outward and people can feel when you honor yourself. And they start honoring you too a lot of the time. So if acts of service is your personal love language, do the things. Take care of yourself in practical ways. Future you is counting on you, and that is how she feels loved. So let's get into this last love language, physical touch. I think this one's often misunderstood, to be honest. If physical touch is your love language, that is when you feel most loved through physical connection and affection. Now, When it comes to other people, it's about hugs and hand holding and cuddles and touching someone on the arm when you're talking to them, all of that. But when it comes to yourself, it's about how you touch your own body, how you treat it, how do you connect with it. When you're not doing this for yourself, it can look like never touching your own body with tenderness or care, rushing through your showers, getting dressed in a hurry, not putting on lotion, being rough with yourself, ignoring your body cues, hunger or fatigue or pain, treating your body like a tool or sometimes even like an inconvenience instead of the sacred vessel that lets you move through this life experience. So when you are treating yourself lovingly with this love language, this physical touch, what it can look like is touching yourself with gentleness, care, reverence. Maybe it's the way that you make time and ease to really like lotion your whole entire body, not just the elbows, right? But like the whole thing. Maybe you take a little extra time to do some sort of like night care routine or like face massage for yourself or hand cream for yourself or something like that. A little bit of self massage. Maybe you give yourself a little foot massage or scalp massage or even like do some version of little wrist massage with lotion or something. It can be a ritual. It can be grounded. It can feel really nice. It can be just having gentleness with yourself because it's these bodies are so precious, right? So it can even look like gentle stretching or yoga. For some, this can be sensual touch. If that's something that you feel comfortable with, this is your body and you can love it however it feels right to you. This can even be really making sure that we're tending to our body through doing the stretching that I was talking about. Not like, oh my God, I have to like get this done or I want to burn these calories or whatever it is. It can be a little different, right? A little slower, a little softer, a little more nourishing or nurturing. So it can be things like skincare, but it can also be things how we were talking about, like for your future self. Like for me, I have super sensitive skin. So if any type of like itchy tag or metal or sometimes like something with fragrance or the wrong ingredients touches my body, I'm probably going to have some version of like, I'm itching right now just thinking about it. I'm probably going to have some version of like hives or something. So that's part of touch and what we allow to touch our body if we are sensitive. And as sensitives, what I have noticed is that there are so many of people that I know that are sensitives or gifted spiritually in some way that also have some version of autoimmune. So we tend to have just extra sensitivities. So for me, I'm careful about the fabrics that I buy that are going to touch my body. I'm careful more and more the older I get, as my body seems to get like even more hypersensitive. I am like, I really research the makeup that I'm going to use, the sunscreen. You guys know I'm going on a trip this summer. I just ordered some sunscreen that's supposed to be really good for the type of skin that I have and where I'm going to be. So it's more than just like the way you physically touch yourself and spread lotion or do your own massage. It's the products that you're choosing and the luxurious feeling. Maybe you want like a really thick creamy lotion because you love the way the texture feels on your body. So it's taking it and using it in every level and direction. For me, I even use like really like no dye, no fragrance soap, laundry soap, because that will touch my skin. For me, I even think of this one as like internal touch. And I know that sounds weird, but what I mean by this is this last year to do an experiment. Most of you know by now, if you've been here, that I have some tummy issues. I have something called UC, which is ulcerative colitis. And I was reading that things in like dishwasher detergents can really upset people internally that have these types of conditions like I do. So for the last year, I've been doing an experiment where I only hand wash my dishes. I don't use my dishwasher. It's like a very fancy drying rack, if you want to know the truth. But I've been doing that as like a self-care because if I put, if I let those chemicals get on my utensils and then I'm using it to eat food and it's getting in my body, that's a different version of touch. Don't you agree? So the spiritual angle with this one is this idea that our body is a sacred temple. It is the sacred home of our soul during this lifetime. It lets us move through this physical experience. And physical touch is just a different way of saying thank you to our body for carrying us through this human experience. It's grounding. It's bringing you back to your body when you've been too much in your head or too much in the world. For those of us that are empaths and sensitives and intuitives, we can get so ungrounded. We're, sometimes working in spiritual realms and we're feeling everyone else's energy, or we're too in our heads. Physical touch can bring us back. It can anchor us. It can remind us that we're here on this body, on this earth. Even something like tapping, where we're working like with actual tapping or pressure points on our energetic meridians of our physical body, this counts as physical touch. So anyone doing like any version of like tapping, EFT it's sometimes called, this also counts under this loving your body with physical touch. It's the only body that you have in this lifetime. So be tender and honor your body. Okay, so I want to talk just quickly about how to identify your self-love language here. So now you're probably starting to get a sense of which love languages resonate with you the most. But let me give you just a few questions to kind of reflect on to help you get maybe even a little bit more clear. So if you want to grab a journal, if you're sitting around listening to this and not driving or walking or doing any of the things, you can write down these questions and think about them, or you can even come back and write them down and go through them later. Question 1. When you feel totally depleted, what do you crave the most? Do you crave hearing like certain kinds of words? Do you crave alone time to recharge? Do you want someone to buy you something or a treat or of some kind? Do you want someone to do something to make your time easier, your day easier? Do you want a hug or physical comfort? Pay attention to where your mind goes and what you feel about that. When you feel totally depleted, what do you crave the most? Your depletion often points towards your love language, right? Because it's how do you feel loved in a tough time? Okay, question 2. What form of self-care feels most rejuvenating to you? It's not what's easiest. It's not what you think you should choose as your answer, but what actually fills your cup for you. You don't have to share these answers with anybody. Is it journaling and affirmations? Is it taking a solo walk by yourself? Is it buying yourself some flowers or a new scarf? Is it cleaning up your space? Is it getting a massage? So what form of self-care feels the most rejuvenating for you in actuality, not who you want to be? Question 3. When someone shows you love, what hits the deepest? Is it when someone gives you a compliment, when someone gives you their full undivided attention, when someone buys you a gift, when someone does something really helpful for you, or when they give you a hug? Does one of these make you feel most loved out of these? Like if you had to choose one, when you receive love from someone else, what kind of hits the deepest? Okay, number 4. When you complain about not getting enough of something, what are you complaining about? Do you complain that no one ever tells you they appreciate you? Do you complain that no one ever makes time for you, or that no one gets you thoughtful gifts, or that no one helps you, or that no one's giving you affection or touching you? When you think about the complaints you have, like about not getting enough of something, what are you not getting enough of? That might cue you into that love language too. So whatever you're complaining about not getting, that's probably your love language. Okay, now here's the thing. You might be multilingual. Most people have, like I was saying before, a primary love language and at least one secondary one. And some people are fluent in 3 or even all 5, but usually we can kind of rank them into some version of a hierarchy of like, well, this one's probably the most and this one's probably the least, and then figure out the middle. But if you want to figure out your primary one, again, you can take that quiz at 5lovelanguages.com. It's totally free. It takes like 5 or 10 minutes. Just answer all the questions and think about them in terms of yourself, not your relationships with others, but within you, yourself, within yourself. And again, it's okay to have one or two or for several of the love languages to resonate with you in different degrees. And once you know your love language, you can start really being intentional about filling your own cup in a way that your soul actually needs, that you actually receive and experience love in this lifetime. Because what I want you to understand is self love is not one size fits all. What works for someone else, or even for me, might not work for you. And that's okay. If your love language is quality time, you don't need to force yourself to do daily affirmations if that feels empty to you. Go take a solo walk instead. If your love language, for example, is acts of service, you don't need to buy yourself flowers. If that doesn't move the needle for you, don't do it. Do some meal prep, or instead of buying flowers, buy yourself those carrots that already are chopped up instead. That probably feels more loving to you. Honor what actually fills your personal cup, not what Instagram or TikTok says, not what your best friend does, what actually works for you. And that's the beauty of this framework. It gives you permission to love yourself in a way that actually matters to you. So let's talk a little bit more about what happens when you actually start doing this, loving yourself with one or many of these love languages. When you start filling up your own cup using your own love language, what I've seen both in my own life and with clients and friends is intuition also gets clearer. Because when we're not running on empty, when we're actually taking care of ourselves, we can hear our own inner guidance or sense it or feel it. The noise kind of quiets down, the clarity comes through. We can attract better relationships, more experiences into our lives. Because when we are modeling self love, we're showing the universe and the humans around us, by the way, that you're worth it, that people can rise and meet the standard that you are holding for yourself about yourself. Or sometimes they fall away. And either way, honestly, that's a win. You have more energy to give to others or to yourself without resentment if you're not giving it to people that don't truly actually care about you. And when your own cup is full, you can pour into others from that overflow, not from a place of depletion. And that feels completely different because you're giving in a way that you want to, not because you're giving in a way that you feel obligated to or guilty about doing or not doing. When you raise your vibrational frequency, you really start to understand that even your time, your attention is a precious resource. And really, you've got to give it to yourself first. And when you're aligned with your own worth, when you're treating yourself well, your energy shifts. You become magnetic in a totally different way. Opportunities show up, synchronicities happen, doors open. Sometimes gifts can rise to the surface in a different way. I had a client recently. I'll give you a quick example. We'll call her Sarah. She is and was burnt out. She is a mom. She runs her own very successful business. She's a powerhouse. She's always taking care of everyone else. And she came in because she felt totally disconnected from her intuition. Often that's when people come to me for coaching. She just couldn't make decisions within her own life. In work, she could, but in her own life, she was struggling. And she felt like she was really empty and like there was nothing left. And so I asked her, when was the last time she did something like just for herself? When was the last time that she really kind of filled up her own cup, like we've been talking about? And she just started crying because the answer was never. She couldn't even remember the last time she prioritized herself or did something not because, oh, I have to make friends with my kids' friends' moms, or I have to volunteer at this school event, or, this company thing. Like she could not even remember when was the last time she did something to prioritize herself that was just for her and wasn't connected to anything else that she had to do. So we figured out her love language, and it was quality time. And I challenged her to take 20 minutes a day, not even every single day, just a couple times a week, just for herself. No phone, no kids around her, no work, just her by herself and her own energy. And I'm so excited to share what happened. Within 2 weeks, she was getting inspiration again. Her intuition was right there, just where she left it. She was making decisions with more confidence. She felt like she had more energy for her kids and her business, and everything shifted. Of course, everything's not perfect, right? Life is still messy and busy and with lots of other personalities, but it was how she felt within herself because she finally started honoring herself and stopped totally ignoring herself and putting herself all the way to the back of the bus, right? That ripple effect, the ripple of truly honoring yourself, when you fill your cup up, everything else flows from that. All right. So let me do a little wrap up here and then we will close out because I feel like I've given you a lot to think about and assess within yourself. We have covered a lot today. We talked about all 5 of the love languages. I'll run them over one more time. Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. We talked a little bit about why these love languages matter, especially as self-love and especially as spiritually sensitive beings, highly sensitive people, empaths, because when we try to pour from an empty cup, our relationship with ourselves really sets the tempo and the energy for everything else. And we can't keep giving from such a depleted place. And I know bubble baths don't work for me, and I know they don't work for some of you. Some of you, if you love them, that's great too, but it's just something else I wanted to offer you. We really talked today about what these love languages look like when we apply them to ourselves. And hopefully any one of these practical examples that I shared either is something you can hold on to and try or inspires you for something else that feels more resonant with you that you might try. So here is your homework or my challenge to you if you choose to accept it. Think about this week picking your primary love language, just one. That's enough, just one that resonates with you most, and commit to one act of self-love in that love language every day for 1 week. Just one. Keep it super simple. If it's words of affirmation, just like write yourself a kind note every single morning, like 10 seconds. If it's quality time, take 10 minutes solo time, free of phones and alerts and all that, 10 minutes. If it's acts of service, meal prep for future you for the rest of the week. So just one thing every day, just for 1 week, and notice how it feels. Notice what shifts. If your energy changes, if your intuition gets clearer or even starts nudging you in a different way, it's been there all along. You just might not have been noticing it. And I promise you, beautiful soul, when you start speaking your love language to yourself, your soul understands. Magic happens. If you do want more support, or if you want a reading of your own to learn more about yourself, you certainly can book with me on my website, joyfulmedium.com, in the Work With Me section. If you are interested in learning about signs, I still have that sign mini course, Sign Magnet, which you can find right on the homepage of my website. And if this conversation was interesting to you, if you learned something or picked up a little tip, or if you know someone that is an empath or a sensitive that needs to fill up their own cup because you love them so much and you know that they give so much to the world and you want to encourage them to fill up their own cup and show them some ways, send them this podcast episode. It might help them more than you know. I would love it if you would give me a like or a follow wherever you are watching or listening to this. And again, don't forget to check the show notes to get to that Love Languages website, to take the free quiz from that author and that website. I will link everything below in the show notes for you. Let me know how this resonates with you. And I would love it if you would share your primary love language with me. Mine has shifted over the years, but it is a very slim margin, number one quality time for me. So what is yours? Share it with me wherever you're watching or listening to this. And I am so grateful to have you here with me. As always, please know that I think you are wonderful. And I know that you are a tender soul moving through this chaotic world. So I am sending you so much love, lots of love, big hugs. Bye for now from inside Spirit Speakeasy.